The Montreal Canadiens and their fans have been thrilled with the progression of the franchise in recent months, and rightfully so. The team had an excellent draft back in June and has now nearly, if not completely, acquired the necessary pieces for fans to project a competitive, balanced roster a few short years away. Beyond even a few short years, they've extended the core they already have in place now long into the future to ensure their abilities to be comfortable and grow into their roles on the team. In past years, this was done with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield. This season, the Habs handed out a 6-year deal to Caden Gooley and an 8-year extension to Juraj Slafkovsky. Slafkovsky is now the furthest extended Canadian, under contract with Montreal until 2033. A $61 million deal for a player with 60 career points might come as cause for concern, but Slafkovsky's situation is clearly no ordinary circumstance. Today, let's take a look at Juraj Slafkovsky and his potential as a player himself, but also his potential for what he can be within the Montreal Canadiens organization. Being the first overall pick in 2022, Juraj Slafkovsky was naturally going to be under a lot of pressure. Compounding that pressure was the fact that he was being drafted to a massive hockey market and that he wasn't necessarily even the consensus top pick. An 18-year-old Slafkovsky was not able to perform to the lofty expectations people had for him in his rookie year, and the pressure mounted further. Fans began to call him a bust, complain about who they should have drafted instead, compare him to Yakupov and Dag. But funny enough, neither of those guys had bad rookie years. It's easy to forget first overall pick Joe Thornton's immense struggles in his rookie season. Thornton, like Slafkovsky, was drafted as a big, offensively gifted forward with all the expectations of being the savior to an original six team. It did take a couple seasons to get there, but eventually, Thornton was the best player and captain of the Boston Bruins franchise. Jack Hughes is a more recent example, less comparable to Slafkovsky, but it took 2 seasons for him to emerge as a star and another one before reaching his true potential. Irregardless of what he would become, rational fans knew it was too early to make any kind of definitive determination on Slafkovsky. Unfortunately, the negative comparables continued into 2023-24. Slafkovsky struggled to open the season, registering just 7 points in the first 2 months of the season. In efforts to break him out of his funk, the Canadiens decided to double down on his talent, not minimize it. And that was the turning point in his season. Slafkovsky was moved up to the top line, given an extra 3 minutes of average ice time per game, playing alongside Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield. From there on out, the first overall pick talent became evident. Slafkovsky equaled his highest scoring month in December. Then, he beat it in January. Then, he beat it again in February. By the end of the season, his pace kept up enough that a clear distinction could be made between the Slafkovsky of the first 2 months and the rest of the season. The Slafkovsky we saw at the end of the season was a near first-line level talent at only 20 years old. A solid player rounding out his game to fit on the team's top line, who ended up scoring more points in his second season than any of the top picks we've previously compared him to. Juraj Slafkovsky's breakout moment has already happened. The world came to recognize his talents throughout the better part of last season. But now, he'll get a full year to officially make his breakout season. Based on last year's averages in that increased role, Slafkovsky would have 61 points in a full season on the first line. That's a very respectable total, and that doesn't even include any improvement he likely made over the off-season. Slafkovsky fits perfectly into the power forward role on a line with a first-line caliber two-way forward and first-line caliber sniper. And both of Suzuki and Caufield still have room to grow as players also. In the future, he can be expected to be a central focus of the Habs power play. The five-pronged threat of that first line, along with the likes of Lane Hutson and eventually Ivan Demidov, will hopefully make that one of the most threatening units in the NHL. And if all goes right, it's easy to see how Juraj Slafkovsky could become that Brady Tkachuk or John LeClair type. An elite power forward putting up the range of 75 to 90 points per season, all on a contract with a cap hit under $8 million per season that pays him until 2033. Juraj Slafkovsky has been under immense pressure since draft day and will continue to be until he emerges as a full-fledged NHL superstar. He's not at that level yet, but the upside and path to get there is clear. If Slafkovsky becomes an elite power forward, he fits perfectly at the core of the talented group that the Montreal Canadiens are putting together. Both Slafkovsky and the Habs are a perfect match for one another, and Montreal provides the perfect opportunity for Slafkovsky to reach his superstar potential. Following those optimistic comparisons of Thornton or Hughes, the third season is the year in which both came to be recognized as star talents within the NHL. Here's hoping that the upward trend will continue in 2024-25 for Slafkovsky, and that a full season with top-line minutes results in an offensively explosive season.